Broadcasting from somewhere beneath the New York Public Library, it's Brian and Eric. Don't belong here. Hello to everyone listening. I am one of your hosts, Brian, here as always with my tenacious tawdry? What does tawdry mean?
I feel like it's like scandalous.
My scandalous colleague, Eric. Eric, what's going on, buddy?
Who doggy? Dude, I'm so excited for tonight.
Fuck, dude. It's full. You know what we haven't established yet? What we do with interviews? Do we pretend the interview hasn't happened yet, or do we?
I think let's just break that wall, baby.
Right.
It's happened. We actually just did it. We're doing this in reverse.
We're
You're
in the
hearing
future.
time out of order.
We've manipulated time.
We're chronomancers.
We interviewed Charles Rosenay, who
Legend.
The interview was so good, you guys. Charles is so I could talk to him I can't wait to have him on again so we can talk for another hour. I feel like we only scratched the surface of things we should talk about.
Absolutely, and I also feel like we legit and I'm sure we're not the only people who know about this guy, but for us, it's like we just discovered a cultural gem. This man knows everybody. He's done incredible things.
Absolute legend. So Charles runs is one of two runners of Paracon in Connecticut, where we're going.
We're gonna be there.
We're going to be there in July, 16, 17. We have a considerable little Connecticut base, and we better see every single one of you.
Pop on in, baby.
Because that's the thing, tickets are cheap too.
Tickets are cheap, very affordable, great value for what you're getting.
Yes, it's a Saturday and Sunday. We'll be there both days. We're going to be at a table. Come say hi.
Come to the after party.
Come to the after party.
So
that's gonna be great. So we became familiar with Charles through that, and just to meet, we were on the phone with him, and it was me wanted this guy on the show so bad because he's fascinating.
Yeah, interesting.
And runs Paranormal convention, only scratches the surface.
Oh yeah, ran a haunted house, ran rock conventions,
a Dracula tour.
Yeah, this man he's taken people around the world on haunted tours, literally like half the countries on the planet.
But we'll get into it. I guess the man speaks for himself.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, huh?
Let's roll. Well, we definitely don't. So I think you're more in than we are for sure.
All right, I'm taking over. How we doing, guys? What brings you?
That's all we wanted. Please host the show. We are lost and confused.
Charles, we are fully prepared to take our hands off the wheel. This is your hour, bud.
Yeah, you take it away.
But for anyone who doesn't know, though, Charles, you are a entrepreneur, an author, a haunted house runner, a convention organizer, a Dracula tour organizer. It might be easier to list things you don't do.
Yeah, what don't you do? Do you knit?
I don't play hockey.
Okay.
Not yet.
And I've never been a Lothario.
Okay. All right.
I don't believe that. I can't believe that. If you're listening in at home, we're talking to a very handsome man right now.
Yikes. Talk about scary stuff. Yeah, anyway. I also do some acting. I've been in a ton
I meant to say actor. I forgot one.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. Have a lot of fun with that on the side, as if there's time to do all of this. But yeah, I've been in a lot of cool things. I was in a movie called The Sadist with Tom Savini.
Hell yeah. The all-timer.
Yeah, HBO's Flight of the Conchords. I played Elton John on that.
Get out of here. No way. I just got nervous. I gotta go.
A show called Prime Minister, where Patton Oswalt is one of the Elton Johns and I'm the other. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff.
That's crazy. This is why I'm glad we don't do a lot of research for this show, because if I knew any of this, I would have been way too nervous to come on and talk to you.
Charles, you're out of our league, brother.
Way out. We're punching way above our weight class right now.
I don't believe that. All right, we're having fun.
So, Charles, if someone were to just ask you what's your deal, how would you describe yourself?
You know, that's a great question. I think I'm a fan first, and I've always tried to do stuff that If I loved it, I hope other people loved it as well. I work really hard at all the things I do, but it's not hard work. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not on a hammering in the shingles. I'm not, out there mowing, people's lawns, but I'm doing stuff that, makes people happy. Everything is kind of entertaining. Everything is pop culture. Yeah. My main income, what I do for a living is I DJ parties, and that's my real deal. Incredible. But everything else I have the luxury of doing because either I was great at it or I was an opportunist or I felt there was the need for it. We do a paranormal convention in Connecticut, and we were the first ones to ever do that because there was one in Maryland, and there was one in New York, but there wasn't one in my state. I produced Beatle conventions years ago for the same reason. I love the Beatles, love the horror stuff, and there was, I thought, needs for these things. But yeah, kind of everything I do, is that entertainment slant, whether I'm in front of a camera, whether I'm on stage, or whether I'm organizing the events, or producing the tours. Everything definitely is entertainment, and definitely it's stuff that brings me joy. And thank God we've been lucky because it brings other people joy too.
Hell yeah!
And it's been a nice you, and take care.
Yeah, we did it. We nailed it. That's actually so for the folks listening in, we actually encountered you because we signed up to present at the Paracon, at your Paracon in Connecticut.
We're tabling. We haven't actually said that on the podcast yet. We're gonna be there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's July 16th and 17th in Ansonia, Connecticut.
Correct. So am I the nepotistic guest? Am I, the kid you're letting into play on the team, even though I deserve? Am I on the show because you're at the convention?
No, we still think you are absolutely out of our league. But so we are. So you did mention this is Paracon in Ansonia is the first. There wasn't one. So last year's was the first one.
Was the very first one ever. We thought I'd been producing, Beatle conventions, rock conventions. I've been to tons of horror festivals through the years. And my para partner, Nick, who's the real deal. He's the investigator. He's the clairvoyant, the exorcist.
That's the shaman half of the shaman and the showman.
Well said. Yeah, he's the shaman half of the shaman and the showman. You put him in a room in a building and he'll tell you what died there. He gets... I'm the promoter end of it. But he comes to me and he says, Charles, you produce conventions. I think there should be one in Connecticut. And I say, okay. I didn't give it a thought. I said, yeah, great, because there's a horror convention here. There's other things here. This is what was needed. And I said, but don't expect, more than 100, maybe 200 people over the weekend. He goes, no, we'll get, 500. I have a good feeling between your promoting and my contacts. Guys, we had 1,500 people at the first show.
Unbelievable.
How did you connect with Nick in the first place?
A great question. So I no longer own it, but at the time I owned what was Connecticut's largest indoor haunted attraction, Fright Haven. Still going strong.
I've been to Fright Haven a couple times.
Great fun place, right? He comes in as a guest, and if you were there, you probably encountered me because I'm the guy at the door who welcomes everybody. I'm wearing, wigs. I'm doing my shtick. I'm doing a little comedy. I'm putting people in a sense of false security, and then I come in,
it's scary in there.
And then it's scary. So he comes up to the door and he goes, dude, this place is haunted. And I go, no shit. I mean, I did my job. Obviously, it's haunted. That's my job to make it scary.
Yeah.
He goes, no, really, it's really haunted. I go, okie dokie. One of these nuts who comes to the door and wants to talk and be important. Anyway, I go, all right, whatever. Thank you for coming. Be in touch. He goes, no, I'm a paranormal investigator. This and that. He doesn't give up. He follows up and he goes, look, I'm telling you, I'd like to do an event there, maybe an investigation. He goes, it's definitely haunted. I'm thinking, all right, if he does an investigation, I got nothing to lose. We'll give him a room. He'll do an event. And we do this event, sells out, 50 people. Wow. He does a scrying session. People are looking in mirrors and seeing dead relatives. People are floating. All these crazy things are happening.
People are floating.
Yeah.
Can we rewind for a second? Like, people are levitating? What's going on?
They're seeing themselves in the mirror.
Wow.
And they're levitating.
No.
Wow.
Listen, Brian, Eric, listen to me here.
I am. I can't stop.
I'm a skeptic. I'm the non-believer.
Sure. Okay.
The guy who came, one guy who came owns escape rooms. So he's, a friend of ours through the business. And he came because his kids and his wife were really psyched. This is going to be goofy. This is going to be fun. Okay. He's like, Charles, I mean, should I even waste time going in there? I go, go ahead. You'll have a few laughs, whatever. It's a great ambiance. He comes out of this thing white as a ghost. His face
Wow.
is white. Let me tell you, he said he sat there with the 50 people, and as he was watching, he was staring into the mirrors. All of a sudden, all the people disappeared, and only he could see himself there, getting older and aged. He had to stop looking. He said it was so freaky.
Oh man.
And then someone else, who's a friend of mine, who came because I said, go, you'll be on the guest list. You'll have some fun. Her name's Becky. She went, and the opposite happened. She was sitting there, and she disappeared from all the people in the mirror. Now, is it hypnotism? Is there something that's going on? I don't know the answer. But after that, I was sold. I said, look, hey, if we sold out 50 spaces in this, we can do it in theaters. We can move on. Maybe we got a little cash cow. I'm thinking of the business end of things.
I love that. Yeah, always got to follow the money.
Well, let me tell you that we did a little research only to find that Fright Haven and that entire shopping plaza where it's built on is old Indian graveyard.
No shit.
And Nick knew this, somehow knew it. So that just stops the whole conversation. It's like,
yeah.
So yeah, from then on, we've been doing not just the convention, but we go on trips where we'll take people to haunted locations, haunted houses, haunted, cemeteries and all that. And it's become a nice, fun. For me, it's fun. For him, it's his life.
Wow.
And this was so successful that this year we're not only bringing back Paranormal, Paracon 2. We're opening it up to 80 vendors instead of 60, twice as many guest speakers and guest, paranormal people. Great podcasters like yourself will be there.
Yeah.
If we use the term loosely, yeah.
Yeah. We're also doing Salem Paracon, which is what we feel the first there have been other smaller shows. We'd like to think it's going to be the first world-class paranormal and horror convention in
Take
Salem.
that, other paranormal and horror conventions in Salem.
That's right.
There had been through the years tons of them, but I don't think on the level of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's my girlfriend and I on one of our first weekend trips went to Salem. And did the Salem thing near Halloween, and it is a wild place around that time of year. Let me tell you, all sorts of people walking around. It's also it's packed. There's so many people that come and check it out.
Yeah, it's special.
Yeah.
On the topic of paranormal, this is a broad question. Is there anything different because you are a convention guy? I read you also do a lot of Beatles conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
Is anything different going to a paranormal convention? Were there any surprises?
Great cue.
Well, when I do the Beatle conventions, it's a much older demographic. Personally, and whereas, the people there are close to dying, the people at the paranormal convention are already dead. So that's
You're right there. You get them coming, get them going.
First time I use that line, but I'm going to remember that one.
That's a good one. That's awesome.
It's a much younger clientele, but it's such a cool vibe. I mean, at some other conventions, people walk out, the band sucked. I didn't get this Beatle album I really want. There's people just, some people complain. We had, guys, 1,500 people, 100% satisfaction. It's just unbelievable. Not only did the attendees have a great time and say, I hope you have it again, but the vendors did great. They not only made money, but they had fun. The way we do it is the events that are on stage can be watched while the vendors are there. So they're enjoying the show. They're not hidden in a separate room.
That's
We're not
awesome.
putting them in other, cubby holes where people may or may not visit them. You can't watch what's on stage. You can't see the guest speakers without walking through the vendors. The vendors are part of the entire room. It's one giant room, and that's that's the, I think, not necessarily the key to the event, but that's one element of it that makes it great.
That's awesome. That's really, really special, I think.
That's fascinating. Charles, here's my question. How did you go from Beatles, classic rock? What inspired the fascination with horror and the occult for you?
Eric, I grew up in the Bronx, and my loves were baseball, monsters, and Beatles. I always said my first memory in life was seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan Show until I wrote this here book called Book of Top 10 Horror Lists, which I know we'll get to. But when I'm writing the book and doing the intro, I told the story of how I discovered loving monster movies through my mom and watching The Bride of Frankenstein. And I realized that I'd been lying for years in saying that the Beatles on that song were my first memory. Watching Bride of Frankenstein with my mom was my first memory in life. So I think it's how if we're brought up loving, NASCAR, we're gonna love NASCAR. I wasn't brought up that way. I don't love it. I was brought up loving baseball. I love it. My dad loved it. My mom loved horror movies. They were cool. I mean, they were old. They should have been into Sinatra and big band, but they loved what was on the radio. They loved the Beatles and the Motown and the Four Seasons and on, and the Monkees and all that stuff. So I think you kind of, if you're, raised on it and brainwashed by it, that's what you also love.
Definitely.
So it was hand in hand. I grew up, we'd go to the Alexanders or Corvettes or whatever was around pre-Bradleys and Caldors and pre-Coles and whatever's around now. And we would go and...
Man, I haven't heard Caldors referenced in such a long time.
But we'd go to the record department because these stores had record departments, and we'd buy me an album or a 45, and we'd go over to the toy section and we'd get me a Frankenstein model or a Dracula doll, something like. Those were the two things that I loved, but I never thought that I would go into the horror or the monster field. What happened was I was producing the Beatles festivals and conventions, and I was doing the Beatles tours to Liverpool since 1983. Very successful. Every year fans go and we have a great time. And my partner at the time, Danny, said, hey, can't we do other stuff besides Beatles and Beatles and Beatles? And we did a Rolling Stones tour, and I wasn't into it, but it was pretty successful. We did a group to see Kiss in Japan. We did a bunch of splinter things that were just kind of one-offs. But he said, what do you love? And I go, I love horror, but, we're not going to a country where he goes, why not? I go, where? He goes, Transylvania.
We got to talk about the Dracula Tours
for
sure. So I didn't know about this. You mentioned in your email, like, oh, we should talk about this. I'm like, what?
That was really, that was the spinoff of the Beatles Tours, because I always dreamed of going to Transylvania, but is it a real place? Is it mythical? Is it dangerous to go to in a third world Eastern European country? Maybe today it is. This was all the things that I said, and all of that went out the door. The first year I went, I fell in love with it. I mean, here you're driving on the road. We're in a luxury bus, and we're passing, old carts drawn by horse and buggy. I mean, it's the best of both worlds. You were passing fancy hotels, and on the next block there's little shacks where people live with outhouses and farms. Old world country mixed with the new world is what Romania is. And the fact that there is still the place where Vlad was buried, the place where he was born, all this what we do is, I get so excited here that I
love it. I love it.
We follow in the footsteps of Jonathan Harker in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. So we're combining the novel and the literature and the fiction of Dracula with the truth and the history and the education of Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler. And it mixes so well. Now, we read up on it and saw that there were already tours that went to Romania and would spend a day, maybe 2 days in Transylvania. And it was called, Dracula this, Dracula that. But they only touched on it. They would go, it was senior citizens tours. So they would go from 9 in the morning till 4:00. They'd have dinner and then, sorry, go to sleep. Our tours are only halfway done when dinner comes at 7, 8. That's when we party at night. I mean, this is.
I'm going to Transylvania. I want to freak out.
Oh yeah.
The 9 to midnight nonstop. We go to every possible place that's involved with both Vlad and Dracula and beyond. And it's just, so we go to Brasov, which has the legends of the Black Church. You can read up on it. We go to Sibiu, where the buildings, the windows are like eyeballs looking at people. We just do every possible thing in that area that's connected to horror and stuff that I grew up loving. I went on the first tour we ever did in 98, and I said, I want to go forever. I loved it so much. I did do that for about 10 years till I opened up, the haunted attraction and couldn't go anymore, and got, a tour guide to do that for us. But that was so successful, guys. I mean, it's some of the trips when the economy was great and people discovered that there was such a thing, sort of like the Beatles tour. We went up to over 100, 150 people were going. Now it's leveled out 20, 30, whatever. But that was successful, and people would go on those tours and say, Charles, we had such a great time. What else can we do? And I go, I don't know. You want to do Dracula 2? We can go to England and go to, Gothic Whitby, and they were already signing up.
Hell yeah.
While I was suggesting where we could go.
That's awesome.
So we started ghost tours, which before I was ever into this paranormal stuff, I was doing it as, again, a promoter and as a tour organizer. And we went to, ready for this, we went to England, Ireland, Scotland, Prague, the Czech Republic, Cuba, Israel, Hungary, every country, with basically the same group of 20, 30 travelers. Some would drop off, others would add up, because they had such a great time on Drac Tour, dractours.com, that is, and that they would want to go on these other trips that I was doing. And it was great for me because, I was making a few dollars here and there, but I was getting to go to all these places.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Who would have ever thought I'd go on a ghost tour to Cuba or Israel or Hungary, or just amazing places? And so that's been until COVID hit, and that's, taking a little break. Those were the three major, events we did as far as tourism. And in between, we snuck in a few weekends in Salem, which we called Weekend of the Witch, a few things we called Mayhem in Manhattan, a few New York trips. And last year, instead of going overseas because of COVID, we did ghost tour to New Orleans, and we've got a ghost tour.
New Orleans is haunted.
Yeah, very haunted, very spooky.
Right?
Charles, what would you say is the scariest, most haunted place you've ever been?
Even as a skeptic, anything shake you a little bit?
Yeah. So, guys, because I have so much time on my hands, I just finished a new book called True Ghost Stories of Connecticut.
Oh, man. We're going to plug all these in the show notes. You guys, if you're listening in, pick up all Charles's books.
This is a first. I have not revealed this anywhere because I never wanted to.
We got the exclusive.
Yeah, can we pause for a second? Ring the bell. It's a Brian and Eric exclusive.
The exclusive. Here. You don't need a bell. You got the megaphone. Ladies and
there we
gentlemen.
go, baby. For anyone listening, audio only, Charles literally has a megaphone and a tambourine.
And a tambourine.
Charles, you're my favorite human being.
Yeah, he's a one-man band. I think, Brian, if you and I evolved and then morphed into one person who was better and handsomer, we might look something like Charles.
And significantly less lazy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the book is True Ghost Stories of Connecticut. And sure enough, of the 33 chapters, it's people who are in the paranormal field gave me their most scariest places, most scariest scenarios. The book is amazing. And I did 3 of the chapters. So what I will tell you is we visited a place called Dudley Town.
I grew up here. I'm from New Haven. So yeah, I'm Brooklyn now, but I grew up in New Haven. And so Dudley Town, never got up the balls to go. But I've talked about Dudley Town on this show before.
Gentlemen, what's Dudley Town? We got a whole haunted town? Can we bomb this place to smithereens? What's going on?
Well,
Charles,
when I Dudley Town was a kid, I thought, Dudley Do-Right? Really?
Yeah, not an intimidating name.
But when people told me that it was a cursed land, that England banished this family of of people they didn't want in England, the Dudley family, to this area in Cornwall, Connecticut, because they were depraved and because they were banging, within their family. And then they started killing the family, and then they started killing themselves. This was a cursed land in Connecticut. And although the people of the town don't admit it, terrible things happened there. And what happened is, for years I would hear about it, and I said, I'm never going to go there. Why would I ever risk being in danger? And as the years went on, biker groups would go there, occult groups would go there, and nasty stuff did happen until it was cleaned up. Well, Nick, my partner, says we got to go to Dudleytown, and I'm saying this is the place that I've heard about and avoided all my life. Absolutely.
There you go.
And we brought 3 different groups. And then we got a cease and desist letter from.
Yeah, you're not supposed to go in there.
What is it? Is it a town?
It's like the stony remains of a village in the woods.
Yeah. But we went as hikers.
Sure.
And the state cop who passed us waved to us, so we got lucky. But I'll tell you what happened, guys. We went up to Dudleytown. It's a hike. It's up a ways through a trail into an open field. And all the things Nick said would happen actually happened.
No.
Watches stopped working. Some phones had no reception. But okay, that makes sense. You're in an open field. You didn't hear any animals anymore. There were no more crickets.
I've heard that.
No more birds. No wildlife. No sounds. No, squirrel in the distance fluttering up. Everything was silent. Okay, that was number 1. Number 2, a gal, is talking and we're walking, and she goes, I thought we're not allowed to here. Why was there that hiker on the other side? And I go, what? She goes, over there, right over on the other side of the stream. I think he was jogging. And I go, there is no place to walk. Or she goes, come on, guys. He was wearing that black pants, black shirt, black cloak, black. And as she's saying,
cloak,
just dressed like an incredibly spooky man.
Yeah, just in a very spooky jogger wearing a cloak.
She realized that she'd seen something that no one else saw, and she just shut up. Now, that's not the end of it.
Oh, great.
One guy who was with us, who came along. I love it when the non-believer, the skeptic comes along, because that's always me. Comes along with his girlfriend because she's into it, and she drags him along, and he's rolling his eyes. And he comes over to me when we going back, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, everyone starts pointing to this guy. And he's like, what? Because I don't believe? And no, they're taking pictures of him as his hair, for no reason, is being pulled up in the air.
Get out of here.
Guys, for no reason, his hair standing up. I include the picture in the book.
Wow. Gotta get the book.
Yeah, gotta get the book to see the photo.
Gotta get the book just for that picture. So that's one of the 3 times we went. That was the only time I went, and that's one of my stories that I tell in the book. Another gal tells her Dudleytown story of how it was a summer day, and she drove there, and it started to hail only over her car. So crazy stories. And if I was picking up this book and I didn't know the people who sent it, I'm like, yeah, right. This is a great work of fiction, but all the stories are true, and it's going to be a great piece.
What's the name of the book? Does it have a date yet?
The name of the book is True Ghost Stories of Connecticut. I'm starting to shop it next week to publishers, and if I don't get a publisher, I'll self-publish. The key is that it's ready for Paracon in July. That's what I'm most excited.
Incredible. We should, whenever it drops, we should cover it on the show.
I would love to do that.
That would be great.
Let's see. So we covered the Dracula. So we should talk about your other book. You have a book out right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
This it's really special because when I was the Beatle guy, I published a magazine called Good Day Sunshine, which was the name of a Beatles song, and it came out every other month, and it was 100 pages, and I did it for 2 decades, and I said,
"Wow,
I'm never ever going to publish a book." People would say, "Hey, Charles, when are you putting out your Beatles book or your memoir or your life story?" I said, "Never," because I felt that I was putting out a book 6 times a year.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Publish a fanzine, it's just like putting out a book, maybe tougher. Anyway, when COVID hit, all the things that I do, I couldn't do. I wasn't DJing out parties. I wasn't entertaining the bar mitzvah kids. I wasn't doing weddings. I wasn't booking bands. I wasn't doing tours. I wasn't doing conventions. I wasn't doing festivals. I was home watching horror movies with my kids.
There you go.
Treadmilling. And I was looking back on old files, and I remembered that I had accumulated, just so happens, a ton of top 10 lists from celebrities. Why?
Oh.
Why would I have done that? Because after I did the Beatles Good Day Sunshine magazine, and I was veering into the Drac Tours and the horror, and I was no longer doing a publishing thing, for a while there I was online doing something called National Horror Happenings, which was my kind of online newsletter. And it was my way of promoting my tours, but I would do a horror movie review. I would preview a book. I would give news. I would do this. And for some reason, I did a top 10 list during that run of the newsletter online, and it was the most read. It got the most hits. So I said, oh, it's cool. I'll do another one. I know, tons of rock and roll people, and I went to my friends. I got 9 Beatle chapters, 9 Monkey chapters. I got 5 Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. I want to just read something to you here.
Go
on
for
the back of the book, inside you will find 100 top 10 lists from a Beatle, from a McCartney, from Lennon's sister, from a Karloff.
Amazing.
From William Shatner, from one of the Monkees, from a Munster.
You got which monster?
I'll get to that.
Okay. All right. Fair point.
From Scream Queens, from stars of the movies, TV, radio, print, from 5 Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, from a baseball Hall of Famer, and so many other pop culture icons. So, guys, what happened was I had about 80 top 10 lists just sitting in a file on my computer, including Butch Patrick, who else, of the Munsters.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
I said to myself, I should do a book. It's going to be, no problem. Not realizing that I still had 20 more to go if I had 100. But I reached out to people who I hadn't, asked before, and everyone else was home doing nothing. So it was a great way to get lists from people who might not I don't know if I would have, gotten the William Shatners of the world and Ruth Buzzy and all these cool people had it not been for them being home for COVID. But they were.
Still counts.
Brought it to a publisher, Bear Manor Media, who were famous for putting out pop culture pieces. And what it is, the book, I mean, if you read the Amazon reviews, just amazing. Yeah, for horror people like us, it's phenomenal. You see everyone's top 10 list, but it's also great as its own standalone celebrity book. It's also great for rock and roll people who want to hear, who the members of Alice Cooper's band picked, or members of the Cars picked as their top 10 list. And then what you do is you go to the index in the back, which is just ridiculous. It's exhausting. And you can see who the 100 celebrities are, but there's also a separate contents which lists every movie. So you look down the list and you see Rosemary's Baby. Damn, it had like 20 people who actually loved it, including Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, Beverly Washburn, a horror actress, Dave Winfield of the New York Yankees, Ruth Buzzy from Rona Mars Laughing, horror author Jack Ketchum. So you can see if you pick a movie, who else?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
cool. Awesome.
What's your...
We're not going to give it up, but there's a top 10 list of what everyone picked. We calculated which films made, the list the most.
Amazing.
Charles, what's your top horror movie?
So the one I go to the most is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Great pick.
The best.
But it's not my favorite.
Okay.
My favorite's a tie.
All right.
And because I'm a rock and roll guy, I have to pick a music one as one of the ties. And that's a movie called Phantom of the Paradise.
Okay.
Which is Paul Williams' crazy take on Faust, Phantom of the Opera, Dorian Gray, and all that. And it did not make the book.
Wow. Whoa, come on.
But my other pick is an obvious one, which happens to be the number one choice of most of the people in the book.
Can we guess? Should we guess? Yeah. Eric, what's your guess?
Ghostbusters.
Eric, you go first.
Ghostbusters.
Brian, you go.
I'd have to assume The Exorcist, right?
Obviously.
Yeah, right.
I was just Ghostbusters. That was a throwaway.
Yeah.
I'm JK. I wouldn't have guessed The Exorcist though. That's yeah.
That would have been your next guess. Yeah, The Exorcist, of course. It's just heads and tails and just still as scary as it was. And yeah.
It's a great movie. I don't want to give anything away from the book because obviously people should buy it and read it for themselves. Are there any like big surprises? Anyone who you wouldn't expect to rank a movie where they ranked it off the top of your head?
Great question. Yes. So a friend of mine, Julia Baird, who's John Lennon's sister.
Wow.
Still lives in Liverpool, still welcomes us when we come over every year on the Beatles tour. I was hitting up, people who I knew, friends first. And she said, Charles, I hate horror movies. I don't think I've watched more than 2 horror movies. And I said, well, that's why you hate them, because you haven't seen it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great answer.
She said, all right, let me think about it. A few weeks later, I get this ridiculous thesis. Are you ready for this?
Ready for it.
On the horror elements in literature. And she gives me her top 10 list, which includes Shakespeare. And I'm floored. Guys, it's the biggest chapter in the book. The most literate chapter in the book.
She got you.
It's the one that I go to. The only other person, who said something very similar was Sarah Karloff. She goes, and I've known her for years. She goes, Charles, I don't like horror movies. I don't even watch my dad's monster movies.
Wow. Wow.
I go, I need you in the book.
I can't believe you got a Karloff in the book. That's pretty crazy.
So you know what she did, guys? She did her top 10 list was the top 10 things that scare me. And
That's great.
And number 10 was having to do this list.
Wow.
Wow, right?
I love that.
Agreed.
Do you have it? So you certainly seem to have a primary affinity for the classic horrors. Is there any modern stuff that's kind of tickled your fancy?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Hell
So
yeah.
I'm older. So, the Universal Monsters are what I grew up with. And in this first edition, because there's going to be more.
Of course.
You're seeing Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi. You're seeing the classics. On the next edition, you're going to have the slashers on the cover. You're going to have
there you go.
Freddy and Chucky and Michael and Jason, all of those, of course. But oh my gosh, yeah, Malignant and
Malignant fucking ruled.
yeah,
I didn't see Malignant actually.
Quiet Place. I can go on and on.
Did you see Hereditary, Charles?
I loved Hereditary.
Loved Hereditary. I got
Crazy
Hereditary posters out in the hallway.
And even some of the, the Netflix, haunting of, those the Hill House or whatever those were. Those I love, and there's just so much modern horror. And you asked, do I like it? I didn't stop once I saw every, classic film. I didn't stop watching. So
Hell yeah.
I've watched everything since.
Hell
There
yeah.
isn't a movie that comes out, that I don't try to see. And the most recent one I loved was and now what the name is it? It's the On the Farm, the porn movie. Oh, X.
I have not seen X yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes, yeah, I got a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old who for about 5-6 years were working in my haunted house, scared the pants off people, but wouldn't watch horror movies. They wouldn't watch them.
They'd be so they could give it, but they couldn't take it.
Well, you know what it was, Brian? I kind of jaded them as little kids. I was taking them to see.
Sure.
I took them to see Mama, and I took them to see Machete. I was like, I would have been arrested.
Dad of the year.
Bad Grandpa. You named the worst movie they shouldn't have seen. I took them to see when they were 3 and 4. So they loved it. And then at some point, they got scared. So for a little period, they didn't see movies. But now, if there's a new horror movie out, we not only watch it together, we try to see it the first night it's out, or the first night that it's on Netflix. And my God, they're right on board. They saw the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I didn't want to give my opinion. They
Right.
go, it sucked. What happened? So they're right on top of it. That helps things. It's better to watch movie, with some people who get it and our family.
Definitely.
Charles, what is it about the genre you think that really draws you in and tickles your fancy?
The same as a roller coaster.
Definitely.
The adrenaline.
Well, yeah, maybe the adrenaline, but also the fact that, do I go on it? I'm afraid to go on it. When you're on it, it's like that build up. And then when you get to the top and it's over, it's like, oh, it was great. I want to do the next one.
Yep.
So with a roller coaster, you want to go again or go on a different coaster. With the horror movie, once you're hooked, you want more horror movies. I've said this, I say it in the book, and I've said it, in interviews. 9 out of 10 horror movies suck.
Yeah.
I admit
And
it.
that's kind of the beauty of it.
Exactly.
But it's worth it for the one that's great. And even in the 9 that suck, we still love them if we love horror movies.
I think the thing that captures my imagination about horror, especially in a current Hollywood landscape where like you just look at what's playing at the movie theater, you throw a dart, it's probably going to have a fucking superhero in it. Horror movies are cheap, which means there isn't a lot of like studio oversight, which means they're kind of weird. So even if it's bad, my wife and I will sit there and go like, well, it was fucking weird.
Right. I'm trying to acquire a taste for the elevated horror, which is that what they call it now? Midsummer.
Yeah.
And what else? And I'm just hoping that's not a vogue and a trend. I'll take Purge. I'll take that over the the cerebral stuff that's trying to pass as artsy horror, trying to get non-horror people to watch.
I want some boardwalk crap.
Yeah, give me the schlock. Slop it on my plate.
Give me the babysitter. Give me the schlock.
Yeah, that's right.
Love it. I do think there's an amazing divide of like I like both. I enjoy both. Sometimes I like a good thinker. Other times I want a carnival ride.
You know who's my favorite? And I'm so bad with actor names, so you guys are going to have to help me out. Who is the classic, Charles, you're going to know this, the classic black and white horror actor from back in the day? He did like everything. I'm just
Lon Chaney was the guy in everything.
Price?
Vincent Price.
No.
Bingo. I knew it. I knew you would know. I knew you would know. Vincent Price. Any Vincent Price flick, I'm in. And they're not all good.
His daughter Victoria gave me a list for the sequel.
Come on.
You know them all.
You know them all.
And I'm dear friends with Bela Lugosi Jr. and his daughter Lynn, and they're probably going to write the forward for the next book. So I'm very excited about that.
Amazing. And you've mentioned through like tours and things, is that largely how you've linked up with these people over the years?
Yeah, combination of that and going to so many horror conventions. What's really cool now is, you've probably attended horror conventions, and now you're going to get to be on the other side of a table.
Excited.
Yep.
It's really exciting. It is a thrill, guys, to have gone from attending Chiller and Monster Mania and all these events to now sitting on the other side and saying, yeah, what's your name? And getting to sign a book, give it to them, ask them what's your favorite horror movie, and be, not the celebrity, or the
certainly not.
but yeah, that's what I love it. I love it.
It's we're very excited we've through our jobs, like how we've paid our rent over the years, we've been involved in like larger productions at like Comic-Cons and stuff. So we've been staff at like larger booths and stuff. But like what seems so cool about love a smaller show. And like don't get me wrong, Paracon, you said you sold a lot of tickets last year, and that rules. But it's more intimate than your San Diego.
It feels like it's still got soul, got a little character, a little texture to it.
Like I want to. It's these large your C2E2s that are just large blanket nerd stuff. Like no, I want to meet some freaks.
Yeah.
I want everyone who's freaky about the same shit I am.
Guys, I think that a lot of my success, and you mentioned, that a Paracon is obviously much smaller than a Comic-Con, is that a lot of it is at a risk of being, immodest, is my personality is in everything I do.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And there's an energy to that. There's a funness to that, and I think that it's infectious. I'd like to think so.
You see, Charles, you give me the vibe a little bit of like a
a wizard who is just making stuff happen in the world.
A wizard.
A legit wizard. You got a cauldron. It's bubbling, boiling, and
out
stuff is
just
coming
comes
out.
cool shit.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy books, amazing cons, trips around the world to see haunted places. You know,
Guys, you mentioned Comic-Con, and it brings to mind, in 2010, I produced something in the Meadowlands in New Jersey called RockCon. And that was the weekend of 100 rock stars.
Hell yeah.
One of the Beach Boys. I had all these really cool people. And I lost one of the few times I can say I lost a fortune. I lost over $100,000 on the show.
Oh, no.
I've never even made $100,000. So congrats.
I go through that every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's how I keep warm. I put in a barrel and I burn it.
It took me about 10 years to recoup from that.
Oh, wow.
And why do I mention it? That was going to be my biggest thing of all. And I thought it was going to be the rock and roll version of Comic-Con.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize, schmuck that I am, is I had to have deep pockets and do this. No, Comic-Con wasn't a big success the first year.
Right.
Sure.
It built
Takes
up.
time. It builds.
Right. Con is the only thing that was a success the first year.
Yeah.
You got to build up. And I didn't have deep pockets to have continued with losses a couple of years till RockCon was successful.
Yep.
But RockCon and having 100 rock stars there was probably, without me realizing, the impetus for doing the book of 100, celebrities, because so many of those people I became friends with at RockCon and was able to contact them for the list. So yeah, it was a big loss then, but in hindsight, it probably led to other things.
Sure, absolutely. Charles, we mentioned up top, you're an author, you're an actor, you're a convention promoter. Is there anything on like the bucket list that you haven't done yet that like you're gonna tackle?
So I have 4 books.
Hell yeah! All right,
can't stop.
Now. We've got the sequel to the book of Bride of the book.
Great title.
I've got a Beatles themed book, which is exactly the same, where celebrities give me their Beatle lists, their favorite Beatle stuff.
That's great.
Ghost book coming out. I've got a book on the Monkees in the plans, and a book, a discography of the Turtles. Don't ask why, because you know why? Because we mentioned the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before we started the show.
We did.
Sure.
That's why I'm doing a book on the Turtles band. No, so I got a lot of those things.
It's happening live.
I never thought in terms of what I haven't done and what I need to do. I've always thought of, here's an opportunity. I'm going to go with it and hope to see how it succeeds. If the Salem Paracon is as successful as I think it would be, I'm going to reach out to you guys about doing the Brooklyn or the Amityville or whatever Paracon. We'll do some in other cities, perhaps. We'll see, how that grows. But people say, Charles, you've done really all the things in life that you want to do. My best production, and my kids are my best production. I just want to keep doing great things that someday maybe they'll love as much. Hasn't happened yet. My daughter, I thought, was following in my footsteps in my DJ company. She actually did design for the horror thing. She designed the cover of my book.
That's
so I
awesome.
thought she'd go into design. She's a singer. She's an actress. She gave it all up to go to law school. So I don't know.
A very practical decision, I guess.
Yeah.
Smarter than I've
Are
ever
you
been.
ashamed of her?
Well, if you got to go into
It's a little embarrassing.
a horror field, law is that field.
I guess that's true. That's right.
Well, she's going to do all my contracts. I'm fine.
There
with
you
it.
go.
And the guys, they're into theater now, and they're into the horror, and they're into acting and singing. But one of them's going to probably be a doctor, and the other one maybe will go behind the scenes, maybe do editing, and I don't know what. It's hard to predict now. But I care more about
Just become president, I guess.
Yeah, there's no getting to these kids. You try to raise them right, you throw them in horror movies when they're 6 years old. They're friggin' going to medical school.
No, listen, you're making me laugh. No interviewers do that. That's great. I think that that's the legacy is what I've done that hopefully will have paved the way for what they do. And if
Absolutely.
they loved anything
Yeah.
that I did, they continue that, great. And if they don't, it's okay. It's just fun
Absolutely.
because, whatever I've done, whether it made people happy in the minute or they'll think back fondly on these things, it's a great feeling. I get Christmas cards every year, or mostly Halloween cards from people who've been on the tours saying, Charles, just thank you. We remember you. We love you. You gave us the greatest vacation of our life.
Incredible.
Or, this couple, we went to your convention in such and such a year, and yeah, we're still married. We met there. What?
Wow.
That's
amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
It's amazing.
That's incredible. Charles, Eric, do you have any final closing thoughts? We're coming up on an hour.
I have a million.
I know.
I want to touch on the Beatles and the occult. I want to touch on. Actually, can I ask?
That's Beatles and the Occult.
Yeah,
Ding,
that's
ding, ding,
maybe
ding,
a
ding,
whole
ding,
other.
ding,
They've got a Lester Crowley and their friggin' album cover. They've got it all. I mean, before we get to that, I think Brian, may I ask the question that's kind of like almost like the crux, the thesis of our show?
Please do.
Charles, you've seen a lot of things. You've been to a lot of locations. Your coworker is legitimate a clairvoyant shaman. Where do you fall? You describe yourself as a skeptic, but you've seen some pretty wild stuff. Where do you fall in your views of the paranormal? Do you think there are some strange things out there? Have you seen some things that defy rational explanation, or where is it all just smoke and mirrors and showbiz, or what's going on out there?
I quit. That's a better question than I can answer. Listen, Brerick, I'm going to tell you guys.
That's deep down. I feel like we've always been Brerick.
Oh yeah, it's inside. Yeah.
Let me answer that by saying I've had experiences. For me to say I'm a non-believer and a skeptic, I'm doing that more to not sound like that guy, because that guy, people will roll their eyes at. I don't want to be that guy. Let Nick be that guy. I think that when people come on our things, and the boyfriend is the skeptic and the girlfriend's into it, I think that it's important that I'm that persona. Now, having said that, there's 3 stories in my book that I wrote that are all experiences, and one is mind-blowing to the point. I'm going to get so trouble here. My wife doesn't want me to say that it's my story.
Wow.
So in the book, I write my friend.
Whoa.
Because
Gotta pick up that book, guys.
Yeah.
and so I've had these experiences. One of my favorite people in the world is named Richard Felix. He was one of the hosts of Most Haunted in England on the British channel. And when we do tours to England and Europe, he'll usually come with me because I'm a great host, but he's a tour guide. He knows the places, he knows their history, and he sounds British, and he's legit. And he's the real deal when we go there. And he's got a book called What is a Ghost? And he's the same thing. He says, no, I don't believe there's ghosts, but there is the unexplained. Because if you'll talk to 100 people, and those 100 people are skeptics or non-believers, I would say that 90 of those hundreds will still tell you a story.
Everyone has a ghost story.
Yes.
Everybody has a ghost story.
And they won't call it a ghost story.
Right.
They'll say, yeah, I don't know why there was knocking on the door when I look at the cameras and there was no one at the door. And I looked at my, push button thing that has a camera, and they don't have an answer. You don't have an answer for so many unexplained things. So that's the best way I could answer it, by saying I've had encounters, I've had experiences. The rationale and the person in the scientist in me, the educational person in me thinks why was that guy's hair pulled up in the air?
Exactly. What's going on?
Was there a magnetic field from a satellite above that 1 inch of land at that point? Maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
But maybe there's the unexplained, and it remains unexplained. So you're asking a phenomenal question. And where do I fall? I'll tell you where I fall. I fall on the ground every time Nick looks up for something, because it's a case of my mouth opening, my jaw dropping, and me hitting the deck. That's where I fall.
Wow.
Amazing.
Incredible.
It's, and I find that to be the most relatable. Like, my brother just asked me this weekend, so, like, where do you actually, I know you do the spooky podcast, but, like, where do you actually land? I'm like, no, not really, but, comma, but is the big one. Charles Rosenay. Incredible. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming on. I know there's a big list. We'll put the whole list on our blog when this episode goes up. But off the top of your head, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, they can find me on your show because I am taking over, as you know.
Oh, right, of course. Yes, sorry.
This is Charles Rosenay, our boss.
I don't have any one place. It's every event has its own website.
Okay.
I guess Charles Rosenay on Facebook is a easy old way to find me.
You on the gram, Charles? You on the gram? You TikToking?
I'm watching the TikToks. I'm not TikTok.
You're not dancing.
I'm Insta. I'm on Insta, but I'm not doing a lot of the gramming.
Okay.
And pretty much each thing. So the book has book of top 10 horrorlist.com, Paracon with 2 N's.org, Dractours.com. Hopefully you'll list those all.
Well, yeah, we'll list everything
we'll put
out.
all that in.
But if people want to just email me at, let me think, there's too many of those also. Let's do Liverpool Productions at gmail.com. But if it doesn't have to do with Liverpool or Beatles, anything that they want to know about, I'll answer. I answer all the emails they send.
Wonderful. Charles, once again, thank you again. Can't wait to hopefully meet you at Paracon in Sonia, Connecticut.
It's going to be amazing.
Not hopefully, definitely. I really look forward to hanging with you guys.
Likewise.
We're going to have a good time. And I have loved being on this show.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. This hour flew by. I feel like we could talk for a whole nother hour effortlessly.
We got to do it again.
Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Keep rocking and keep being spooky.
Legitimately might be the quickest hour of podcasting.
Wow. I feel like we were just on a slingshot through time.
Just the best.
Incredible.
Well, before we get out of here, is there anything else we should go over?
I think that's it. Obviously, we're gonna put all the links to all of Charles' projects in the show notes. Check it out, support him, buy his books. He's an incredible guy. Come see us at Paracon.
July 16th, 17th. We'll throw obviously the link to tickets in the blog. I guess we can get out of here. That's going to wrap up this broadcast for this evening. Thank you for listening, everybody. Let's see. Where are we? We're everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We're on Twitter at Brian and Eric Pod. Do you want to get in touch with us? You can email us at spookybriananderic@gmail.com. Check out our blog, briananderic.show. And, for both of us here, Brian and Eric don't belong here. Stay safe out there.
Good night.